StreamYard or what do you
I just use Zoom.
Oh,
You can go direct from Zoom. I used to have StreamYard, but I just wasn't using that enough. So I just, you can stream directly from Zoom. You just can only pick one platform.
Got it.
Yeah. Alrighty, it looks like we are live. All right, hey everybody. Welcome once again to yet another free training. It's been a while since we've done one, so I'm really excited about doing this, and I'm excited about the topic. I'm excited about how many of you guys are excited today as well. So, all right, I see we're nice and live in the group. So today we have a guest. It's not just me. So today we have a guest, who I'm super excited to be introducing. We have Randy, who is actually the founder of Merri, and she is going to be teaching us today a little bit more about how Merri works, why Merri's here. And as I said in the description, as I've said in all the promos and everything, this is all about how to make 3D renderings for your events. So hi, Randy, welcome so much. For everybody who's watching, do me a favor as you join in, leave a comment, say, hey, I'm here. Let us know what city or state you're here from. And if there's something specific you're excited to learn about, drop it in the comments, because we'll be looking at that, and we'll be sharing from there. As usual, for those of you in the replay crew, I know there's so many people in the replay crew. If you tune in from the replay crew, leave your comments, leave your questions as they come up, because we keep checking this out, all right? Thanks for the hearts and the love and everything. Thanks everybody for joining. But first, let's go ahead. Randy, welcome. And yeah, just let us know, like, where are you based, and why did you create Merri?
So I am based in New York, but only about like 30% of our team is now based in New York. We've kind of followed the trend of remote work. So we're all over the place, and the product is all over the place. But why I started Merri, kind of an unconventional path, but during my wedding planning process, I was quite frankly really surprised that a tool like this didn't exist to help me make the decisions I needed to make with my florist and the rental company and the venue and my caterer. And I found myself kind of like cobbling it together in a PowerPoint slide, which you're probably very familiar with, and like cropping and arranging images. And at the time, and for the past 10 years before that, I worked in e-commerce. And so I kind of had this light bulb moment where I was like, I can build kind of like an e-commerce catalog of furniture, linens, lighting, florals, etc., and kind of wrap that in a 3D visualization application to take kind of the venue into account, because that's pretty important, and help you in like a really fun and interactive way figure out, what your event can look like.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's super exciting that you went from like a bride to like wedding tech creator of technology for wedding planners. That's really exciting. And you're right, like this kind of software has existed for interior design for years. Like this is nothing new for them, but of course we use totally different things in our industry than they use. So it's really cool to have this for us as well. And also for everybody watching, I mean, people have always done 3D renderings for events, but generally it was outsourced. So you have to outsource, and you have to get an outside person, have a bunch of meetings with them to explain what you're trying to get the renderings of. Then they do the custom renderings, they come back, they charge you per revision. So that was more of like a whole nother service that was like hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars, right, added on to what you would be doing, where instead now you could do this in-house, thankfully, because of technology. I too am from New York, that's where I was born. And my background is in computer engineering. So I 100%, appreciate technology. For those who joined my accelerator programs, you guys know how much I love technology and using it the right way. So it's really exciting to have this as well. So that kind of leads me to my next question. How long has Merri been around? And I guess how long has it been available like to the public?
Yeah, so we launched our beta, which was just 10 venues in the New York City market exactly 3 years ago. I think it was like 2 days ago was our 3-year beta anniversary. The product was pretty different at that point, but that was, I guess, like our first kind of testing ground. 6 months later is when COVID hit. So we were kind of gearing up to launch more publicly, but obviously didn't. And so, in hindsight, I actually think it was really beneficial that we got to stay in just like build mode for kind of another year. And then I wouldn't say we did like another launch. It was kind of just like the market slowly started creeping back and people started planning more events on the platform. But I would say it kind of started taking off in like January of 2021.
Right. Awesome. Okay, so we're getting in a little bit on the beginning side. So again, I
Yeah,
always
yeah.
bring fresh and new ideas as much as possible to the group. It's always a benefit for being here. So thanks to everybody who's here, who's watching, who's invited friends. All right. So and so right before we get into the demo, I want to ask one more question. Why is this valuable to planners? And I can give my perspective too, but why is it valuable to be able to do 3D renderings? And what are people saying that have used this before?
So I could talk about this for the whole hour, but I won't. I think the first few things that come to my mind are, one, you're working with an ever-changing and ever-evolving consumer base as a wedding planner, right? Your clients continue to be the same age, but you get older. And so as we move into this next generation of, younger millennials and Gen Z, they have different expectations than even I did as a bride 3 years ago, right? Every element of their life is tech enabled. And I think most people, as even wedding planners, like expect most of their services to be tech enabled. So in order to kind of capture that clientele and keep them happy and make them happy, you are going to have to kind of evolve your business and take processes that were previously either offline or just filled with friction in some way and bring them online. The second thing is it helps you sell your own vision. And that then can translate to more revenue, right? So the more you can sell to your client, the more you can kind of make on the additional services and products that are sold to them. It's that classic, if you can see it, you can sell it, but it's really, really hard to sell something to your client if they just don't understand what's in your head.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, I love that. And I mean, I would say similarly, yes, I tell this to people all the time, when I ask people, who is your ideal client? Who's that person you want to work with? And people are always like, oh, that busy girl, she's an exec, she's a manager, she owns her own business, she's a boss, she's this and that. I'm like, this person doesn't have time to kind of like be texting images to you back and forth, back and forth. It's a valuable thing if you can somehow show what they're going to get at once, not like in 7,000 different disjointed messages, right? And so that's part of what I teach in my program, but I think this is a really big asset to that how, right? And so I'm really excited about this. I'm excited about this. I'm excited about other people learning how to use this. And also I wanted to say thanks because I know you guys actually came to us and asked to present this to this group. So someone in this group, I'm not sure who it was, but someone in this group told you guys that they're enjoying this group, that it's helpful. And so because of that, you guys reached out to us and asked, to present this in our group, which of course I said, yes, this is where we're all about sharing value. And I'm really excited about that. So thanks for joining us. And you can go ahead and you should be able to share your screen and we can walk through the demo. While you do that, a few people, not everyone, but a few people did tell us where they're tuning in from. So welcome, Lashina from Milwaukee. We also have Andrea, sorry, when you shared your screen, the whole thing went full.
Sorry.
Okay, it's just technology on my side. But hey, Denise as well, thanks for joining, and also Gloria from New Jersey, so she's not far from New York. So awesome, she's in our she's in our foundations course as well for beginners. So and she's doing amazing. So this is awesome. So thanks everybody who chose to let us know where you're from. Everybody else, please keep it going in the comments and ask your questions as they come up.
Awesome. So I am going to walk you guys through very simply how to create an event on Merri. There's a ton that you can do on the platform. I am not going to overwhelm you with every single detail. One thing that I will start off with is everybody gets a free 30-day trial. So if there's something that you're like, oh, I want to dig into that, you absolutely can. We also provide free one-on-one training sessions. And you can see in the bottom here, there's this assistant. So if you're ever on the platform and you have questions and you need help, we are available for you. So I'm going to walk you through this. Like Visual said, if you have questions, type them away as I go. Someone on my team, Andrea, is there to answer your questions. But then Visual, I can also leave some time at the end for like dedicated Q&A. Okay, so planning an event on Merri is 3 kind of core steps. Step 1 is choosing your venue. Step 2 is choosing your rentals and decor. And then step 3 is pulling the venue and items together in 3D. Okay, so starting with step 1, choosing your venue. Now on the venue page, we have over 1,500 venues for you to choose from. Obviously, there are some venues in New Jersey, some venues in Detroit, some venues in Milwaukee, right? We can kind of add or kind of direct you to whatever venue you need. So what do I mean by that? Well, if we have a venue If you search for it, it will come up. If we don't have a venue, nothing will come up. Do you see this big banner right here? What we're telling you here is if we do not have your venue, because there's a lot of venues in this country, as long as you can upload a floor plan to us with at least one measurement, we can create a 3D model for you within 3 business days for free with your $19 a month subscription. So here visual is when I get into pricing. Okay, so it's just $19 a month, unlimited events, and we can create as many venues as you need. Now, once we add the venue once, it's obviously available to you forever, right? So even if you don't have a venue, don't worry, you upload the floor plan once, we add it for you, it's free, no problem. So whether you search for a venue and we have it, or you upload a floor plan for us and we add it for you, that is your first step. Done. I chose my venue. I'm going to use the Dewberry Hotel in Charleston as my example. Now I said step 2 is choosing your rentals and decor. And you do that on what we call the vision board. And I mentioned before that I come from e-commerce. So this is where kind of that e-commerce catalog comes in. And I like to think of the vision board as almost like a shopping cart. So you're going to add a bunch of items to your cart and then check out and food. So we start you on the vision board on what we call the category view. And that's because it's broken down by category. So starting with like your base, right? Your tables and your linens, going into seating, and then everything that goes on top of your table, et cetera. So you kind of keep scrolling and it's almost like this visual checklist. Now in the top right corner, I can actually toggle from the category view into the freeform view. It is the same thing. The only difference is instead of on the category view, where I have to kind of scroll and click to add each item, on the freeform view, my catalog is right here and I can just drag and drop everything. So I'm going to teach you guys on the freeform view because that is the view that I like, but it is totally a personal preference. So what you see on the vision board is we pre-populate the board with inventory that this venue provides. So if we work directly with the venue, we know that information. You can minimize this. And then the whole point is that you can then use this catalog over here to add other items. So let me just delete this bench here real fast. So let's say you don't like the chairs that this venue provided, or the venue doesn't provide chairs. You need to bring your own chairs in. So you would filter into your furniture category and the chairs subcategory. And you see there's 470 chairs available to you. Now you can search for a chair, right? So if you think maybe you want a ghost chair, you can search for a ghost chair, and then you can see we have a ton of different options for you to choose from. If you like this one, you simply drag and drop it onto your board. If you don't know a specific chair, but maybe you know you want a blush chair, you can filter for color, you can filter for material, etc. Drag it onto your board. So you're kind of just building up your board item by item, going down this left-hand side, clicking into each category. So maybe you're done with your chairs and now you want to think about tables. Do you want a farm table, or are you just going to use kind of a standard table with a linen? Well, maybe you're kind of doing one of each. So I just added a standard round table. And what we're just telling you is don't worry about the size, right? Because maybe you need a few 60s, a few 72s, maybe even a 48. You're going to choose your size in 3D. You're pretty much just saying I'm using a round table. And then maybe you're also going to use farm tables. So you're good with your furniture now. Go into your linens category, go into tablecloths. Maybe you know that you're going to be renting your linens from Nuage. You'll filter down to Nuage. Again, you can search for a specific item if you know you want it. Find the item you're using, drag it onto your board. So the freeform view is great because it's not only drag and drop from when you initially add something to the board, but then you can start like really creating a mood board type of a thing with real inventory and different sections. So I'm just going to click into a version that's already done. I can find the right one. Here we go. So that you don't have to watch me add all these other items. So you can see now I have, all these linens, I have lounge furniture, I have chandeliers, I have napkins, menus. So all these different things that make up an event, you can add on your vision board. Now, once I've gotten my vision board to a place that I'm like, okay, I'm ready to see this in 3D, I'm going to click view your space, and then I'm going to choose the room that I want to live. Okay, I'm just going to create a brand new vision board because I want you to see the first time experience when I go into the space. So I'm going to pick the room that I want to see. So I'm going to start in the ballroom and walled garden. Maybe I'm doing like the ceremony in one room and the dinner in another room. just start with whatever room you want to start with, and then you can change rooms thereafter. So I chose my room. And now we ask you, well, do you want to start with just like a 2D floor plan or a 3D design? I'm going to click 3D design, and while this loads, I'm going to explain to you what the difference is. So when we first launched, we only did 3D. I said that's what we're hanging our hat on. We are not a floor plan diagramming tool. Floor plans are kind of one component of what we do, but I really believe that the future is 3D. And a lot of feedback that we got was generally like we agree and 3D is great, but a lot of times I want to start in 2D and just make kind of like a quick floor plan or a diagram, and then I'll add all of the amazing details after. And so we kind of now give you the best of both worlds, where you can start in that 2D mode and it looks like you're kind of stencil top-down drawing, and then go into 3D, or start in 3D and then go into 2D. It's really up to you. Whatever you do in either of the modes, the data flows through. And I'll show you what that looks like. But just know that both are kind of at your disposal all the time. So now you can choose kind of what you're doing in this room. So we're going to start with a reception, and then I can show you kind of how to do a ceremony after. Okay. So we said step 1 was choose your venue. Step 2 was choose your items. And then step 3 is pulling those things together in 3D. So we're at our final step. Hopefully the first steps weren't too hard. Now, when you first load into 3D, it's an empty space, right? We are going to fill this up, but before I walk you through that, I want you to focus your attention on first just the right-hand side of the screen. So on the bottom here is what you can think of as like your control panel, right? It's how you move yourself forward, backward, left, right, and you can even pan all around the room. Now in the top right corner is how you transition from 3D to top-down, and then within top-down is how you transition then to 2D mode. So this is technically like a 3D top-down view, but if I go into 2D floor plan, you'll see what I mean, okay? So you get 3D, you get top-down, and you get 2D. Very easy to change between all 3 views. Okay, that is super important. Your top-down view or your 2D view is going to be your best friend. But now let's talk about how you're going to fill up the space. So I'll just say in top-down view for now, but anything you do in 3D, you can do in top-down and vice versa. And what you notice on the left-hand side is it's like a toolkit, okay? So in your design tab within your toolkit, you'll see a whole set of tools that are based on the type of item that you want to add to the space. So if you're trying to add tables, you're going to use the tables tool. If you're trying to add, lighting, you're going to use the lighting tool. So let's start with our tables tool, because that's generally like the skeleton of the floor plan. And I'm going to say add a new table. Now here's where you choose the type of table that you want to add. A guest table is a table that has plate settings on it, okay? Versus a cake table is a cake table with a cake on it. A high boy is a 42-inch tall table. So we ask you the type of table that you want to use, because you'll see in the next 2 steps, the types of items that we place on top of and around the table are dependent on the type of table that you chose. So let's start with our guest tables. And we said that we're going to use a 60-inch round table, so we're good with that. If you wanted to change the size of it, you could using that drop down. And I'm also good with 8 guests at the 60-inch table. So no changes to make here. So I'm going to hit next. And this is what I wanted as a bride. Because what I wanted to be able to do was come in here and say, I want to see this tablecloth with the, steel veludo napkin. And I don't want my napkin folded like that. I want my napkin folded as a knot. And I don't want to use white folding chairs. I'm going to rent my own chairs. And it's going to be the ivory chameleon chairs or the blush chameleon chairs. And I also wouldn't do this garland at my round tables. I would do maybe a low floral piece with some votives around it. So all of those different items that I had added on my vision board are now available for me in my tablescape design tool. And I can very easily just kind of toggle certain things on and off. So if my client then says, actually, I don't like those chairs, no problem, go with the ghost chair. Or if they don't like the ghost chair, go with the, Tribeca chair. So it's super, super easy to show your client all these different options in a very tech-enabled way. Now, once you've kind of gotten your first table to the point that you and your client are happy, you're going to hit save and close. And what you see on the left-hand side here is you have your table template. okay, this is an important concept. If I need to add 4 of these tables to my floor plan, I create the template once and then I drag it out 4 times, right? I don't need to do what I did 4 times. So you're creating the template and then you can either drag it out 4 times, or once I add 1 to the space, if I select it, this whole menu pops up here. And that's how I can use like a tool like the copy tool, or for those of you like me who like keyboard shortcuts, I like to do Control-C, Control-V, or if you have a Mac, you could do Command-C, Command-V. So you create a template and then you add it to the space as many times as you need it. Now, let's say you actually wanted to alternate like linens and centerpieces on your round tables. So a shortcut here is, instead of adding a new table and doing all those steps again, you can duplicate the template that you already created, change whatever you want to change. And now you have 2 templates. I can delete that one and add this one instead. So that's how you would alternate tables. Now let's say you want to create a head table. Well, remember we added that farm table. So it's still a guest table, but now I'm going to choose this farm table. I'm good with 8 guests with 4 on each side. Again, I don't want these chairs. I want these chairs. This is where I want my garland, but I also want some lanterns. So you can see how much fun you can have by getting, you know, really creative with whatever you're doing. And then I can drag this table out. And since I'm going to have a large wedding party, I might need 2. So I'll select it and then copy paste. Now it's turning red because they're too close. That's an error that we give you if you ever put something too close, or you put something in an area of the venue that's not allowed to go. It turns red and we yell at you. So now you see I'm now moving these tables together. All I did was I dragged a box around them. And now I can either delete both of them, rotate both of them, move them together, etc. So if you ever need to group things together, just drag a box around them. Now, why else would you want to group things together? Well, I'll tell you right here, it's driving me crazy that these tables aren't aligned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select them and go to my alignment tool and say I want them aligned to the left axis right here. And then I also want to make sure that they're distributed evenly, meaning there's the same amount of space between all of the tables, which now they are. And now, because I'm just going to make this room symmetrical, I will copy all 3 of those. And I now have my floor plan. Now let's just go into 3D for a second. So what you can see here, the fruits of our labor, we have our alternating round tables, and you can see the level of detail. Visual, back to your comment about like people pay a lot of money for high fidelity, high resolution graphics. When we were starting Merri, I knew that we couldn't compromise on that. And not to get like too techie, but that's what makes this really hard because we need to make Merri run on someone's 4 to 6-year-old laptop, right? That doesn't have the latest and greatest technology, and maybe your Wi-Fi isn't really that strong. And we weren't really willing to compromise on quality. So there's kind of a lot of magic, if you will, that has gone on over the past 3 years to make that happen. All right, so
yeah, I love it. I just have a quick question. So you mentioned that if tables are too close together, it gives an error. But here it looks like these, because a lot of times, you know, it's common now to have like king tables, estate tables, stuff like that. So it looks like those tables are still connected. So you can ignore the error. Like if you're like, let's say you're putting 2 long tables together, you can ignore it and the red goes away.
Yeah, so pretty much what that error was these chairs, like were too close. So
chairs, not the tables. Got it.
So like that's an issue, right? But you're allowed to put the tables that are long very close together. Now, to your point though, things happen. We thought we were being really smart with this rules engine. We were like, we're not going to let anybody place things too close together or put too many people at a table. What we quickly learned is there's exceptions to every rule. And so what we allow you to do is, let's say you break a rule. If you hover over wherever the rule is, you're going to see what the error is, and you can just dismiss it by clicking on that error. So if you're like, yeah, Merri, I know, but I'm doing this intentionally. I have to stuff a lot of people in this room. You can just dismiss the errors and they'll go away.
Perfect.
So that is the tables tool. Between the tables tool and learning like top down versus 2D and 3D, you guys are already like 85% of the way there. Those are like the most important features for you to learn. Now let's just keep kind of going down the list for our tools. So our chairs tool is what you use for a ceremony, because when you're putting chairs around a table, you're going to use the tables tool like I just showed you. And so the chairs tool is like really straightforward, because it just ultimately comes down to like, how do you want to space out your chairs? So we have templates that you can choose from. Are they kind of just straight aisles and rows? Is it a horseshoe? Is it a chevron? So you can start with the template. You can always change it later and then hit next. Now here is where you can adjust how many chairs you have in each row, as well as just how many rows you have in general to get to your desired guest count. Here's also where you can change the chair that you're using. And then in this panel is what I call micro controls. Honestly, 99% of the time, our default value should work for you. But if you want to change things like the width of the aisle or how much space you want to leave between the chairs, you can use these sliders to get there. You can also add in flowers, lanterns, candles, etc. within the aisle and outside the aisle. So now, similar to my tables, when I hit save and close, my template is right here, and I can just drag and drop it into the space. Now, let's say I want to rotate this 90 degrees. It's oriented the wrong way. The same way that when I selected this table, a menu pops up here with everything I can do with it. If I select anywhere in this chair set, a menu will pop up. So I don't want to delete the chair set. Oops, I don't want to delete it. I don't want to lock it. I don't want to duplicate it. I want to rotate it. And so now I can use the rotate slider to just get it to exactly the angle that I want it to be, and then just move it on over. And we now have our ceremony set rotated the right way, placed where we want it to be in the garden. That's really all you need to know about the chairs tool. It's really straightforward. So we are now going to go back to our design tab, and I'm going to skip add items for 1 second. And I'm going to move down to pipe and drape. Pipe and drape was a feature we built a few months ago at this point, which was very highly requested. And the reason why it was highly requested is not because there's only like a floor planning component to it, but like I said, we really lean into 3D design, and draping has a huge impact on 3D design. So when you add your drape to the space, there's a few components to it, the same way that there's a few components to a table. So the first component is, what material are you using? So I had white Super Bell on my vision board, so I see white Super Bell here. If I wanted red Super Bell or ivory voile, I could go back to my vision board, add it, because we have a whole bunch of options, and then come back, okay? And for now, I'm good with white Super Bell. So then the second component is, what is the silhouette? So I'm going to go with like a half gathered look and hit next. The last component to this is if you're going to add any layers. So you can add up to 3 layers, and you can see here we pre-populated layer 1 with the silhouette that you had chose. Now I'm not going to do layers in this design that I'm telling you about, but just to kind of show you what a layer means. If I add a layer in front of it and choose a different silhouette, it's hard to see because it's all white, but you can see that the draping in front of that original base is changing. So you can do different swagging options with different materials, etc. But for the purposes of this, I'm not doing it. We're just going to drape the back wall. So I'm going to hit save and close. And now, the same way I dragged out a table, the same way I dragged out my chairs, I can drag out my drape. Now, when I drag it out, excuse me, you can see we just give you a 10-foot segment, because that's generally how you rent out your draping. But all that you have to do is kind of pick up one of the ends and drag it out. Pick up one of the ends and drag it out. Here's an example of an error that you would probably ignore, but I can actually see I have plenty of room here, so I'm just gonna move it back. Now, when I go into 3D, I can see my draping, but it's a little too short, right? So what do we do when we ask into the space that we need to adjust? We select it and we look at our menu down here. I don't want to delete it. I don't want to copy it. I don't want to lock it. I do want to change the height. And so now here, I can just use that same type of a rotation slider and bring it all the way up to the ceiling. Now I can see those like lights through it a little bit. So this is an example of maybe I would want to, move it up a little bit. So that's where 2D versus 3D mode is really helpful, because there's different things that you can see in the different views. All right, back to our design tab. So we talked about tables, and we talked about chairs, and we talked about pipe and drape. Let's talk about add items now. Add items is pretty much everything that isn't something that I already talked about or something that goes on the ceiling. Okay, so we're talking dance floors, we're talking stages, we're talking welcome signs, lounge furniture, etc. So let's say I wanted to add a dance floor in the middle here. My dance floor is in my entertainment category. So I'd click in there. And then again, on my vision board, I had added this black lacquer dance floor. So that's what I have here. If I wanted white lacquer or parquet, I would go back to my vision board and then add that. Now, when you add your dance floor to the space, we just default to 12 by 12 because I have no idea what size you need. If I select it and I use this resize tool, I can adjust it as well. So hopefully you guys are kind of getting the point now where you choose an item and then you can just continue to customize it, whether it's the size or rotation of it once it's placed within your space. And then maybe you wanted to add like a little lounge area over here. So I'll go into my furniture category and scroll down. And here is where I can start adding in said lounge furniture. So I can add in that play love seat as well as that wood coffee table. Now, the last design tool is lighting and ceiling decor. So this venue, they don't allow you to hang chandeliers. They have one chandelier in the middle of the space. You're not allowed to hang anything else. So I don't see any chandeliers here. Had I been using a venue that allows you to use chandeliers, you would see them here and you could just drag them into the space. They'll stick to the ceiling instead of the floor like everything else because they're categorized as a chandelier. But what you do have access to here is day mode versus night mode. And our planners love this feature because you can kind of give your client a better kind of sense of like what the mood will feel like when you kind of toggle these things on and off, especially in an outdoor venue. So those are all of our design tools. Now, I know that oftentimes you're working with clients who are maybe indecisive or don't know what they want, or you want to show them different options. So right above your design tab or tool is what we call different versions. So let's just call this version, I don't know, 64 guests. Maybe you're showing them the difference between 60 guests and 80 guests, or all round tables or all round tables, or this linen versus linen, whatever it is. You can then clone this version. It's like a save as, or you can create a new one from scratch. It's like literally nothing about it is the same. But I'm just going to clone this version. And let's call this one like 75 guests. And for simplicity, I'm just going to go back into top-down view. And now I have a few options here, right? I can add more chairs to each table. That's an option. Or I can add more tables to the space. So how would I add more chairs to tables? Well, there's two ways that you can do this. The first is you can change it at the template level. So do I want to add one more chair to every single table? The second is you can do it at the individual table. Do I want to add one or two more chairs to only this table? Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do both ways. So first, starting with the template, we'll start with this template and say I want to edit this template. And that is going to open up that design panel where we had originally chosen our table and linen, etc. And down here, I'm going to change it from 8 guests to 10 guests. And now watch what happens in the guest counter here where it says 64. I'm going to change it to 10 guests. Hit save and close. And now I'm at 72. So in one click, I added 2 chairs to every table and this updated in real time. But now we want 73, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more chair to this template. And now we're at 74. And now I want to add one additional chair to only this table. Okay. So now instead of going to the template, because that would add another chair to both of these tables, I'm going to select just this table, go to my menu down here, to my resize icon, and instead of 9 guests, I'm going to change this one to 10 guests. Voila, we have 75 chairs exactly. And we did it by changing these 2 templates and then this one individual table. And now it's very easy for you to show your client, here's what it looks like with 75 guests versus 64 guests. Now this one is kind of a bad example because it's going to look very similar because we didn't have to add more tables, but imagine a world where you did have to add more tables or made, a drastic change. That's how you would share it with them. Now, what's also really great as it relates to guest count is in real time, we're calculating what your rental order would be. not necessarily the price, there's some average pricing for these, but for you, quantities. So I need 6 16-inch round tables, 2 country dining tables, 4 spring lattice tablecloths, etc. So literally everything that you used in this design is being calculated for you, even the linear feet that you need for the draping. Okay. And so obviously that's going to change based on the guest count. So in the different versions, you would see a different order. Now, once you've kind of designed the different versions that you want to send or share with your client, it brings up the question of how can I share this with my client? And the answer is we give you a lot of options depending on how much control you want to give your client. So starting with no control, you can export a PDF. And this PDF will get sent to your email, and then you can forward it to them. So in this PDF, we give you a lot. I'm going to export all of it and then show it to you after. But just know that these are checkboxes for a reason. If once you export something, you're like, oh, I don't really need this view that Merri gives me, just deselect it and we won't send it to you. So the choice is yours. So that PDF will come through to my inbox in a minute and I'll show it to you. While we're waiting, your second option, which still has no control, but it is inviting them to kind of open up a more interactive version of this. If you copy this shareable link and put it in an email for your client, what they see is what we call a fly-through video. Now, this is going to look really, really choppy over Zoom, particularly because it's Zoom and then being streamed. I promise it's not choppy in real life. It's like a video camera walking around the space. And why this is great is you can see we stripped out the interface, right? So your client cannot add anything, they cannot change anything, they cannot delete anything. All that they can do is look at what you did. They can pause the video, they can restart the video, they can kind of look around. They cannot change anything that's in the space. Okay, so export, fly through video, both great options. I'm gonna go stop sharing for 1 second, pull up my email, and then I'll share again. Visual Bond, pulling this up, are there any questions?
Yeah, well, first, we actually had a lot of comments, not so many questions, but a lot of people are like, oh, this is the best. This is so much better than Canva. No shade to Canva. I love it, but this is a big time saver. Someone said best tool for events. And Letitia says, I love how it keeps track of the max number of seats versus the max allowed, which I think is great. So yeah, I've really enjoyed this. I think this is really good. So you said you were going to pull up a video, right?
I'm going to pull up that PDF export.
Yes, export. Okay, awesome. I have a couple of questions. So the video that you just showed, right, that you export and send to clients, is it possible to, so do they see it exactly the way we just saw it, like with everything on the outer part, or is it just the video on the inner part?
What do you mean the outer? Oh, like the outside of the space?
Like, do they see the whites, the menus and the Merri and everything, or is it just the video?
They just see the video.
They just see the video. Okay. Because again, sometimes people click around and get confused.
Yeah, nope, they can do nothing besides the video.
Okay, great. Awesome. And then also, can you add custom centerpieces to that as well?
Thank you to whoever asked that question. So in about a week, well, let me start again. The answer is right now, yes, but you have to pay for it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because a human being on our team has to take your image and create a 3D model of it. In about a week, we are launching a new package called Merri All Access, which is going to be a slightly higher price point, but still really affordable. And at that point, you will be able to upload whatever image you want, and it automatically renders in 3D. So for something like $34 or $39 a month, we're still finalizing it, so don't quote me on that. You will be able to upload any centerpiece, any monogram dance floor, whatever those really custom items are that we just would never have in our catalog. And they get added to your vision board, so you can then use them for your future events. Only you can see them. And then when you go into 3D, it'll automatically be rendered for you, which is pretty amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really great. I mean, for the most part, Ooh, for the most part, most people are doing, the standard items. So, and I think that, and for a lot of people, even if they're seeing a standard item, but it's like they wanted white and blush, but it's like all white, they can still visualize it. So I think that in many cases, that's the case for people who are definitely, for us, I would call it like the mastermind level. Like you're doing like the 100K, 150, $200,000 events, then it makes sense, I think, to go the custom route. And then of course, definitely $37 a month to have higher end designs, or even just paying per upgrade definitely makes sense at that level. So I love that. This is really good. And then also, is there a limit on the number of events that you can have in here? I can have 50 events in here just to
You can have
design.
500.
Awesome. And then finally, is there a limit on the number of venues you can add? So let's say I just happen to not have great luck and every venue I want to work in is not already in Merri. Is there a limit as to how many I can request to be added?
No, but if you send us like 100 in the same day, just give us more than 3 days to get them back to you.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But it's unlimited.
Okay, most people aren't working on 100 events at the same time. So I think that I think we're okay with that. Okay, awesome. Like I said, for everybody who's watching, I think we're nearing the end. There is a bit of a lag on Facebook, right? So if you have a question, this is the time. Drop it in the chat so we can answer before we drop. All right. But I'm going to turn it back to you, Randy.
Perfect. So just wanted to show you guys this PDF export. And one thing that also is now going to come with the all access package is you'll be able to brand this so you can put your logo on. So you get this top down view, which is what we spent, most of our time in. You can also get your 2D view. One thing I didn't show you guys just because we ran out of time is you can add notes to this. So that's where you would see more of like an operational diagram. You can see your 3D diagram from multiple perspectives. You see close-ups of all of your table templates. And then you get an itemized summary, kind of like that shopping cart. Now, the last thing that I want to show you, and then I promise I'm done. The last way that you can share this with your client is what we call the client dashboard. Anything that I do within the 3D part of the program automatically flows through to this client dashboard, okay? So in this menu here, I'm in a single event. We chose our venue, we chose our vision board, we went into design, now I'm back on the summary tab. If I share this link, the only thing that my client has access to is this tab. They will not see any other tabs, okay? And why this tab is amazing is one, again, you can, with the all access, you can brand it, you can customize this, etc. But let me just find the version that we were working in. The problem is I have too many versions. Here we go, because it's a demo account. So if we look at our 75 guest version, we see our 3D screenshot, we see our top down, we see our 2D, we see our table templates, we see our items. This literally automatically populated. And there's a button that takes me to that 3D walkthrough video. So this is the best of both worlds. You get the walkthrough video and you get the export in one live web page. When I say live web page, the key component to that is it makes updates as you make updates. So if you export to PDF, anytime you go and make a change, you have to export a new one and forward that to your client. But this will always be updated with your changes. And the second thing is this is mobile optimized. So for your clients who are busy professionals on the go, they don't want to like get in there and save different versions of PDFs. They just want to have one link that is always updated that they can look at on any device. And that's what this dashboard is meant for.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I love it. I love it. That's really good. Yeah, I mean, this is good. And I didn't mean to rush you. I just wanted to get
No.
questions.
I promise I'm done.
A lot of times when we go live, we get questions like right after we ended, and I would like the questions before. So that's exciting. This has been really, really great. Thank you for sharing this. I do have a couple of questions, and then hopefully those who are watching online will also ask some questions.
Yeah.
What happens if you're doing an event like at somebody's house or like something like that? Is there a way to just like build like a raw space or something like that? Because it's not quite a venue.
Yeah.
But like if it's like at a house or like a gallery or something that's not a traditional venue.
Yeah, honestly, we treat it like it is a venue in the sense that we'll build it for you and then it'll be added to your account. So if I actually go back to my venue tab right here, you can see like 1 Passaic Avenue, 114 William Street. So we've created a bunch of people's homes. And then we just only, give you access to it because that would be kind of weird if the public could see somebody else's house. So you can request that we add it. Now, let's say you're in a bind and you're like, Randy, I don't have 3 days. This custom space tool is the same tool that my team uses to build it for you. So you can build it yourself if you want. I'm going to be totally transparent with you. It's a little, you got to learn how to use it, and we're happy to train you on it, but there's a bit of a learning curve to it. So we are always happy to do it for you for free. You just need to give us 2 to 3 days.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. I love it. Nope. I think I have asked all the questions I had on my list. Yeah, this is great. I mean, anyone on the line, if you have any other questions, anything else to share, I'm seeing someone saying, oh my gosh, that'd be great to be able to do floral installations. I think that was in response to being able to upload custom designs and upload custom arrangements. And again, it depends on, this is just a matter of understanding your business, right? If right now in your business, you're typically doing tall centerpieces, low centerpieces, arches, stuff like that, that everybody does, which is still very beautiful, by the way. But if you're doing that, then definitely standard. If you're always pushing the limit, and if the core of your business is designed, then probably the all access would make sense. And as you heard, you heard it first here, right? You heard it before it was even released. Give them a week or two, and then you'll be able to upgrade to that option, and be able to have custom things as you're building out. So that's great. So yeah, we're getting a lot of love, not a whole lot of questions, but a lot of love in the comments. Someone wanted to know about balloons. If you can do, I guess, and I think I'm gonna guess this person is asking about balloon garland, and like balloon designs, not just like one-off balloons.
Yeah. So we only have like 2 balloon garland options right now, but that is like the primary candidate for upload your own, because they're all so different, right? Like the different colors and the different shapes. And so we'll probably add a few more to our standard catalog, because we have been getting a lot of questions about them, but that's like a upload an image, add it to 3D, perfect use case.
Got it. Okay. So that's more of a like a custom request.
Yeah. But we do have, like I said, 2 or 3 kind of like, I think there's like a blue one and then a one or something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that with that, sometimes it also depends. Like it may not be the exact rendering of exactly how the balloons are going to be, but at least people can see a picture of how it looks and everything. Yeah, awesome. Okay, let's see. Let me see if is there anything else, anything that's been a common question in the past, or where people have commonly gotten stuck on in the past that you want to share?
Honestly, it's always like, what if you don't have my venue? And then pricing, which is why I just address it right up front.
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate you sharing the price up front. Yeah, definitely, it's great to know. So for everybody who's watching, the link to who's watching right now, the link is in the description of this video, where you can sign up for Merri now. I believe there is a trial. Is there a trial? So you get a trial before you get charged. So you have time to go in there, play around, see how it is. If you have an event coming up soon and you're like, you know what, let me just get in, use my trial to, get my client to finalize their design, right? Play around with them in there. Close it out. Like, this is a great way to do that. And yeah, so you can definitely use that link that's linked in the description. And yeah, it just lets them know that we sent you. It lets them know that you found out from this video. So it's helpful for us all to know, just how you're finding out about them. And so definitely make sure you use that link if you sign up. This will be here for everybody who's on the replay club. So if you watch the replay, drop your questions, drop your comments as you're watching the replay. But again, I just wanted to say thank you again. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Also to everybody at the team, but thanks you guys for reaching out, deciding to present this to us so we could always be on the cutting edge of our industry.
Thanks for having me. This is honestly how we've grown, like pretty organically through communities like this. So thank you. And thank you everyone for joining in.
Awesome. Okay, thanks everyone. We're going to end the stream, and enjoy the rest of your day.